all the schools. It doesn't real.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. How about you? Okay, well, let's call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the February 2025 regular Board of Directors meeting for the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District. We'll start with our safety briefing from Gregory Strecker, Safety, Security, and Risk Management Director.
Thank you. For everyone here who's not familiar with the building, I want to talk about the different evacuation routes in the event of an emergency or some type of incident that occurs that would cause us to need to evacuate the building. The main evacuation route from this room is directly behind the board of directors tables right here, through that door and out the hallway to the outside is straight to the outside. Our main evacuation area to sit is or to stand once we're outside is right next to the street and the parking lot, or the entrance to the driveway and the parking lot. If that evacuation is blocked, the other evacuation route is directly behind me, the two double doors. You go outside the two double doors, walk downstairs, do not take the elevator, go outside the front into the parking lot. And again, our evacuation meeting zone is in the parking lot area next to the street as well. Is anyone in here CPR certified? If you don't mind raising your hands, thank you. We do also have some AEDs available downstairs in the lobby downstairs. The AEDs are automatic, so once you open them up, only trained people should be using them, of course. But once you open up the AED, you just hit the on button and it'll instruct you on how to proceed forward with the process with the AEDs. In the event of an earthquake situation, all the board members and anyone else, of course, we need to try to get underneath the desks. If you can't get underneath the desk, go towards the walls of the building. Do not go towards the window. The windows will shadow anyone at the windows. Move away from the windows as soon as possible. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Greg. We now wish to acknowledge and welcome our newly appointed director, Santa Cruz County Supervisor for the Fifth District, Monica Martinez. Welcome. And we'd also like to welcome recently appointed director representing the city of Capitola, Linda Orbach. Welcome. This completes the board for 2025. And now we will have roll call.
Director Downing. Here. Director Dutra. Director Colin Johnson.
Present.
Director Koenig.
Here.
Director Leonore.
Here.
Director Lynn.
Here.
Director Martinez.
Here.
Director Newsom.
Present.
Director Orbach.
Here.
Director Rose Carter. Director Rockin.
Here.
Ex officio Director Northcutt. Ex officio Director Riskin. You and we have quorum.
Community Television of Santa Cruz County is broadcasting today's meeting and it will be available on their YouTube channel next week. Hector Guzman is providing Spanish interpretation services today.
Hi, my name is Hector Guzman. I'm an interpreter and anyone needing Spanish interpretation services on any point of the agenda today, please let the board know so I can be of assistance. Mi nombre es Hector Guzmán, yo soy un intérprete de inglés a español. Si hay alguien que si quiere participar en la agenda de hoy y en cualquier punto, por favor déjenme saber a la mesa directiva para que pueda asistir. Thank you. Gracias.
The board will now review our proposed slate for 2025 officers and appointments. Receive board member alternate slates and comments, followed by comments from the public. We will display it on the screen for everyone, followed by discussion from our board members. And so we'll go ahead and present that slate. So you can see I've nominated myself, chair, and on to vice chair will be nominated Mon Cody. And then you can see The Capital Project Standing Committee is Jimmy Newsom. We have an open seat there, which we'll talk about afterwards. And then the Finance and Budget Audit Standing Committee is Shebra Collins, Barry Johnson, Donald Lynn, Manu Koenig, and Mike Rotkin and Fabian Leonore. For the the Human Resource, committee is myself, Manu Koenig, Shebra Collins, Holly Johnson, Donald Lynn, and Vanessa Carroll. For the SCCIC representative, we have Shebra Collins, Harry Johnson, myself, Manu Koenig, Donald Lynn, and Scott News. And then nomination for the Santa Cruz Regional Transportation Commission. We have Mike Rotkin, myself, and Jimmy Dutra. And for alternates, we have Donald Lind, Vanessa Quiroz Carter, Fabian Lynn. So the first thing I'd like to do is find out if any of our board members want to join the capital committee slate. We do have an opening there. Okay, well, I'll nominate myself, so we have enough people on that committee. Corey said it's gonna be the happening place, so. We'll let you know. And so are there any board comments? Yes, Mike?
I'd like to propose a second slate.
Okay,
And my slate is exactly the same as slate one, except for the changes are the RTC would be Mike Rotkin, Rebecca Downing, Vanessa Cruz Carter. The alternates would be Donald Lynn, Fabian Lenore, and Doug Lobach. Other than that, the slates are the same.
okay, any other discussion?
Would you repeat the,
Yes, the alternates are Donald Lynn, Fabian Lenore, and Lobach. So, yeah.
Any comment from any board members?
I wonder if Melinda knows about capital, are you, aren't on other committees? That's a good one to kind of get some exposure since they had an opening.
I'm definitely interested. As you all know, Capitol is right in the middle of the county. We are an important piece of this whole project, and I would love to have my voice.
Well, they were just asking if anyone wanted to serve on that. I was thinking that
For
like
which,
capital improvements.
I think it was talking about the slate.
No, but just in that, as we're talking about the slides, if that might be something you might have an interest.
I think I just am a little bit wary of all my obligations and what that entails, because I still work, I still have 3 kids. I am on so many different things right now. It's only been 2 months. I don't want to commit to something I'm not sure I am able to fully engage and be a good presence. So I think I'd like to sit and wait before I jump into a community. Thank you.
Just not knowing first me, I just want to make sure you. have
Yeah,
that.
thank you for,
Yeah. Any other
Inviting.
comment? Sorry, didn't mean to jump in.
what were you going to say, Donna?
I said, I just was inviting, so it's okay,
Thank
I
you.
understand.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
Hello, Director, board members. My name is Jacob Wysocki. I'd like to comment on the slate for the RTC. September 2024, in the case of Stephen Sifke versus Jimmy Dutra from the Superior Court of the State of California in Fort County, Santa Cruz, a jury of 12 persons returned the verdict, finding the following. 1. Jimmy Dutra committed a sexual battery. 2. Jimmy Dutra's conduct violated Penal Code 647.6, annoying or molesting a child. 3. Jimmy Dutra's conduct violated Penal Code 288A, lewd or lascivious conduct on a child under the ages of 14 years of age. Today, board members are asked to approve a slate of for the appointment to Santa Cruz Regional Transit District that includes Jimmy Dutra. I urge you to select an alternate slate that does not include Jimmy Dutra because the judgment in Stifke versus Dutra makes him unfit to represent Metro at the RTC. While he's been reelected to the district election in the city of Watsonville, the vote for this slate is public, and board members voting for this slate give it their public endorsement. Any board member that votes for a slate with Jimmy Dutra is helping to give power to a man that has been found liable by a jury of his peers for molesting a child. The fact that few seem willing to speak out on this issue shows the systemic power that abusers in our society are allowed to wield. Vote for Jimmy Dutra sends a strong message that the board is willing to provide political cover for abusers and shield them from accountability. Vote for Jimmy Dutra sends the message that victims of abuse should not come forward because all the consequences will fall on the victims, not the abusers. Vote for Jimmy Dutra undoes the good reputation of board members that have otherwise been strong advocates for the oppressed. I ask you all board members, please do not vote for this man that's been found liable for molesting a child. It's a very serious issue, and board members here, your voice carries a lot of weight, and I really ask that you think about what your vote actually means in the coming moments. Thank you very much.
Comment. Do we have any other comments in the room? Any online?
There are none.
So a motion is required to approve the slate. So do we vote the first slate on the first slate as presented?
And the second stands
For a motion.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll take a
As
vote
for
on
the
the
motion on.
So I need a motion on the first slate.
I make a motion for the first slide.
Okay, any seconds?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor would take a roll call vote and Vanessa has joined us.
Vanessa has joined us online.
So we have to do a voice.
What are we voting on?
We're
The first
voting
slate.
on the first slate.
Those who want that slate rather than the second slate. Is that the vote?
Correct, both slates? That's
Yeah,
correct.
we vote
Yeah,
on,
Okay.
we vote on both slates, right?
Well, if the first slate passes, that's the slate.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So
Make sure.
if it fails, then you'll see if there's a motion for the second slate.
Okay,
I'd like to make, can I make a comment at this time?
Sure.
I'm still on the second slate, so, I mean, this was clearly an RTC conversation, and, the voters reelected me by over 11%. I had a former city council member that I ran against who was well-known in our community, and most people, saw this allegation as politically motivated, and they stated it. So, at the end of the day, the voters of Watsonville want me to be representing them, and this position needs to be represented by someone from South County on the RTC. This is a political, move by this gentleman, which is, his right to come up here and stand and, try to make it something about, deflecting and so that he can get an RTC, a reflection on the RTC that he wants to see. And it's, that's what this is. So we play politics in this game, right? That's just part of that's a pawn that was moved. So it's up to us to,
Yeah, and I just wanted to let you know that I considered all this when I proposed the first slate. And there is no criminal conviction here, so that's important to note. Additionally, you served on the board for a while in various capacities, so you have experience. Additionally, the voters did vote for him back onto the city council and you were selected to serve again on this board, and that's why I have included you in the slate.
thank you.
Yes.
I may have misunderstood what Kim just said, but there is a second slate that they're not on. You understand that?
I'm not on the capital project for.
No, it's nothing to do with that. On the RTC, I've proposed a second slate that includes myself, Rebecca Gunning, and Vanessa.
I understand.
Mike, the gentleman got up and spoke that I should not be on any slate. No. He got up and said I should not be on any slate. Your state still includes me in other positions, so. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Just clarifying.
Okay, well,
You're not on either, the slate for either the regular or the alternate position for RTC on my slate.
that's not what I was talking.
Sorry, I was confused.
Okay, let's do the roll call vote, unless there's any other.
Any more discussion? I'm sorry, open for discussion.
Mhm. Go ahead.
I'm new. So hi, everybody. I'm Supervisor Martinez, a new board member on the Metro. I just want to start off by saying I believe the Metro would be well served by either of the candidates that are coming forward. And as would the RTC. So really appreciate that two folks are interested in the position, honestly. Personally, I'm feeling drawn towards the second slate more about diversifying the voices since Director Dutra is representing the Metro on other places. And thank you so much for your willingness to represent the Metro on other places, that I'm inclined to let other directors step up and have a voice at different seats. But I would also love to hear from Director Vanessa Cruz Carter, since her name is thrown around, before I make a vote, I would just love to hear from her directly. Thank you.
Good morning. Apologies for my tardiness. I am just joining us and I'm wondering, I'm looking, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just looking at the proposed slates and I don't know if there's been any adjustment to the proposed slates since I have joined this morning. So if
Yeah,
I could get some
there has.
clarification.
Mike Rotkin proposed a second slate that's identical to the first, but moving you from alternate to appointed representative and adding Melinda Orwell to the alternate,
At the RTC.
to the RTC.
I see. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
I think that we'd like to hear from you about that since originally when I contacted you, you were agreeable to continuing as an alternate. The second slate would give you this appointment. So I'd like to know if you have, the time and capacity to serve in that role. That will help us with our vote on the slates.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I do have the capacity and I'm able to do so if the body desires. I also am not going to say anything to disparage my colleague. So I will let the board decide how they would like to proceed.
Yes, I have a question for Director Dutra. Is the RTC a body that you would like to serve on?
Yes, definitely, and I can be there in person and, represent it in that full capacity.
Well, it's great that we have two South County
Yeah.
voices on both of those slates. Thank you.
And
Well, and that was
too many years we've gone without.
I'm also curious, what is the composition of the current RTC board in terms of male, female? Does anyone know?
Well, all 5 of the Board of Supervisors serve on that. So,
Okay.
that gives you an idea. And then 3 from us. And our representatives on the RTC need to reflect the composition of, the demographics of this county as well. So that's why I propose that slate, because Mike's up there, I'm in the middle.
In South
Jim's
County,
from-
either representative. I think I remember seeing a picture from the previous, and it was just, I think, 2 women in a sea of men. And I would like to see more women representation.
Right, well, that has already changed with.
A little bit.
And
little bit.
Serpa joining the Board of Supervisors, so.
We are 50% of the population.
And I think the other thing for me in selecting the slate was. Go ahead, Alta. Did you want to say something? Okay. So in selecting this slate, I was also looking at people who have served Metro. And Mike's been around here a while. And Jimmy has served in various capacities as well. And I think that's really important because we're representing Metro on the RTC. And that's part of the reason I chose. Vanessa's been on the board for a while too. And she, like I said, she agreed to be alternate.
Yes, so I like what you're saying about maybe incorporating more women into our boards. But also we need to start maybe thinking about the people that are out there, the people that actually ride the bus to join these boards, because they have a picture of what really is going on the grounds. So I think that bringing more people from the outside, not city council members, not supervisors, but more people that are out there.
That would change the composition of the board.
Yes.
And we would have to change our bylaws for that.
Yes.
We also have the Metro Advisory Council, which is a body that meets every other quarterly. And they bring a lot of these things to our attention as they did at the recent meeting.
I would just point out that it's not just us changing our bylaws, it's prior change in state
State of
legislation,
California.
changing composition.
Our bylaws that in state ordinance or,
Yeah, it's all, it was
Yeah.
set up in the state law.
and we're sort of maxed out now on the number that we have. I think it's 11. And our board's made up of representatives from the city, 2 supervisors, and then 3 county appointees, you and me. Okay. Let's call the first slate.
Director Downey.
Aye.
Director Dutra.
Aye.
Director Colin Terry Johnson.
Aye.
Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director Leonore.
No.
Director Lynn.
No.
Director Martinez.
No.
Director Newsom.
No.
Director Orbach.
Like to abstain.
Director Key Rose Carter.
I'm sorry, can someone please read aloud the slate that we're voting on?
Do you have your slate up on your screen?
Yes, can you tell me which attachment it is or which page?
It's item number 6.
If I can see.
We had it up on the screen before, Donna.
Page 17.
I'm not able to see the screen on my end.
Oh, okay.
This is, in this first slate, the people that are not
Page 21.
position are Mike Rotkin, Jimmy Dutra, and Rebecca Downing. And the alternates are Donna Lind, Vanessa Cruz Carter, and Fabian Lenore.
Thank you for that clarification. No.
Director Rockin.
No,
It does not pass.
Motion's not passed. So we'll vote on the second slate.
I'll move the second slate.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and second.
Vote.
Director Downey.
Aye.
Director Dutra.
No.
Director Colin Terry Johnson.
Aye.
Director Koenig.
Aye.
Director Leonore.
Aye.
Director Lynn.
Aye.
Director Martinez.
Aye.
Director Newsom.
Aye.
Director Orbach.
Aye.
Director Key Rose Carter.
Aye.
Director Rockin.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We will move on to our Board of Director comments. Do we have any comments this morning from our Board of Directors?
I have a couple. I just want to say first of all, I feel that was really political, that what just happened. If it was really a problem for me being on any slate, I should have been completely removed from every committee. But that was an RTC move, which is everyone's playing this game, fine. But people need to see it for what it is. This politics is a game, it's a dirty game. You know what? I'm involved in it. I'm trying to do the best for my community. And I want to say thank you. I appreciate people who did stand, with me during this last vote. I really appreciate it. But that's why the people elected me in Watsonville by 11%, because I'm actually fighting for the people in my community. I'm not playing these games, right? I'm there actually trying to get them the resources that we deserve. And today I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I feel that are big issues in our community that we're not getting. Our bus stops are getting filled up with trash. Why? Because there are no trash cans, Mike Rotkin, near our shelters, because they stopped cleaning them at Aptos. They don't even get down to South County. So these are things that we need to address when we're talking about equity for our communities. And when our CEO further speaks about it, we can talk about why a lot of the times the policies, they only apply to a certain part of this county and not the entire county. And so I just want to be very clear that, I understand exactly how this game is being played. People don't like me, that's fine. You don't have to like me. It shows it. Donna Lynn, can't stand it. It's fine. Mike Rotkin, it's fine. Donna, yes, it's true. At least let's be honest, right?
Not true.
No, let's be honest.
It-
We
that's
cannot,
fine.
no, no, you can speak when you see this, you gotta interrupt me. You couldn't even let me speak. If you have a problem with me, just be honest about it. I respect you more for that, right? But if we can't be honest on this board, I mean, we're all playing the game. And so, and what we should be doing is the best for our communities. We should be getting us the resources for our communities. But it's not, it's a game. This is a game. But I'm gonna continue fighting for Watsonville and South County and pointing out the inequities that we have. So that if you don't like it, sorry. That's not, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to accomplish things for my community that has been put on the back burner for way too long. So that's what I'm saying. Thank you.
I have to just comment. We appreciate you being here, Jimmy, to represent your community. And we have two representatives from South County. I think your voice is really important. I support you, but I also would like to see more female representation. My vote was not against you at all, so I wanted to be clear. But I think Vanessa would add a different voice to the table, but also represent your county. So thank you.
I also want to say, I mean, first of all, Donna Lynn has a right to her point of personal privilege because you did specifically speak to her. That's why you got interrupted. But I didn't raise, I don't think this is a game. I think politics is serious. And I made this alternative slate proposal because I think the slate that I proposed will better represent the people of the county and including your district on the issues that the RTC deals with. I'm not talking about other stuff going in Watsonville. I'm not in your district, and people there will choose who they want to choose. But you make it into personal stuff when it's not personal and it's not a game. It's a political decision about who each of us in our conscience thinks will do the best job representing this district on the RTC. That's what that was about.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board in general on anything? Okay.
I have a comment, Chair,
Oh, sure.
if I may.
Go ahead, Belinda.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to my colleague, Jimmy Dutra. I really appreciate all the work that you've done, and I will continue working to the betterment of Watsonville, as will you. So I'm hoping that we can move forward and do what's best for our community.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add that even though Mike and Fabian and I, are from different areas of the county, we do represent the entire county when we vote. So we want to hear from the entire county and the concerns that you have.
Good point.
Alta.
I have a general comment. I have a basketball voice. The girls won. So I just for a Cabrillo women team. There's about 6 of them left, but they are holding strong and doing their best. They are in playoffs. So yay, we beat Modesto by 2 points, buzzer shot. So yay for us. Anyway, that's where the voice went. I'm standing 10 toes deep. Also, happy Black History Month for those of y'all who don't know. Okay. So now we're in this place where we're moving to, I want to thank John Ergo and Danielle for meeting with me regarding our upcoming campaign. Many of you don't know, but the bus system, our service with Metro is coming to an end this year, Cabrillo. And so our 3-year contract ends. We're in that carryover year where they have to put it back on the ballot and vote for it. So we will be doing some campaigning on campus where we'll have, and Metro will take an affirmative position, which is their right to do. They don't have to do a pro and con because we're at the end of our contract. And so the students will probably ask for a con when they come to the table, but they are prepared for the conversation. I'm looking forward to that. They will be at both Aptos and Watsonville sites for the duration of the, what did we say, the posting and then the election period, which will end for us at the midway of April. And then they will have their new senators and their new initiative should they choose to enter another contract with the Metro. That will take place July 1, which is our beginning of the year. So I just wanted to thank you all. I want to thank everybody who's servicing Cabrillo and all the support that we get. Every time I make a phone call, there's a change. There's a grace period that we need. I'm just very grateful for the relationship that we've had, and I hope to see it continue, especially considering Cabrillo is getting housing And so the bus, I'm assuming, will be more of a need. However, those students aren't here yet, so they are not able to participate in the voting process. So we're taking everything into consideration as much as we can and trying to move that forward. So thank you for the time. I also want to acknowledge, as a Watsonville representative in a lot of other places, and as a Watsonville resident for 24 years, it would be nice, one day if one of us was on that board too. And I yield.
Like,
You should let us know if we can be helpful in any way in that election. The last election, a number of members of the board and the unions from this organization went down and helped work on that election. So if there's something
Yeah.
we can do, please let us know.
It will be, and I will. We have, during the pandemic, we were able to pass the initiative to keep the metro in place even when folks weren't really using it. So the value is there. It's just that the economic landscape has changed, and that's a different conversation.
No, we can, it's work to pass.
So I will be inviting members of this board to Student Senate meeting. They meet every Thursday, starting at 3:30. They open to the public and they go about till 5. You can always attend, make public comments, but I will be inviting you all to make targeted comments.
now we have item 8, which is set aside for directors and members of the general public to address any item not on the agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item presented, except that any director may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of an administrative nature will be referred to our staff. Each public comment is limited to 3 minutes or less. So please step to the podium if you wish to speak. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. So 2 months ago, I was here at the December board meeting to give comment about how the winter bid had been unceremoniously canceled. But also to give comment about Metro's lack of public communication, especially when compared to its peer agencies like MST or VTA. In that comment, I highlighted some specific things like the lack of service alerts when buses are detouring due to planned construction. That I hoped Metro management would take seriously and would improve. It's now been 2 months, and based on the fact that I'm back, that has not happened. And it's very frustrating as a member of the public and as a bus rider that these concerns of ours have not been taken seriously. For example, one thing that Metro used to do is when routes were suspended or when routes were discontinued, there were stop notices like this, very clear. If you're in the back of the room, you can still see no 16. This did not happen this time around. On January 10th, Laurel Street was being dug up again for construction, and so Route 18 was on detour. There was no communication from Metro about this detour not being on social media, no alerts in Google Maps using GPS real time. On the very same day, Monterey Salinas Transit announced a planned detour on one of their routes. They posted very clearly service alert on social media with a route map and used their GPS real-time capabilities to publish notices for all the stops affected in Google Maps, which is transit app, so that riders know. Metro has this technical capability with their Calibre devices system, but does not publish these alerts. There's head signs that still have the correct information on them. There's flyers and info on the buses that still say to ride the 90X, which is suspended. There's been no communication about all-door boarding on campus. I've seen students getting kicked off the bus because the bus operator doesn't even know the official policy. And so what I'm wondering is, what has Metro management been prioritizing when it's not clear public communication that is up to par with Metro's peer agencies? Well, Metro spent $2,500 on chocolates, saying your voice matters. Apparently, the voice of the public doesn't matter though, because their comment wasn't taken seriously. And over $100,000 on wrap buses, in the most recent thing for the One Ride at a Time campaign. And I think especially with, there needing to be Metro getting additional funding in the next election cycle, the focus should really be on prioritizing service and the needs of riders. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the room who wishes? to speak? How about online?
Hello.
Oh, go right ahead, Gina.
Oh, good morning. My name is Gina Cole and I'm a resident of Watsonville. I just had a comment, more of a safety issue. I would encourage Metro to work with the County of Santa Cruz to put a rectangular flashing beacon at the crosswalk at the corner of Freedom Boulevard and Bowker. There is a bus stop on either side of the road there. A lot of students, probably from Aptos High and Cabrillo College, use those bus stops to get to and from school. And in the mornings, the Freedom Boulevard is exceptionally busy at that intersection. I've watched kids miss their bus and have some near misses going both ways, like getting dropped off and trying to cross either way. So that was just my comment. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments online? Okay, we'll continue on to item 9, our labor organization communications. Do we have any comments from a labor organization?
Hi, my name is Olivia Martinez. I'm the Region 2 Director. I've been here with the union for the last 15 years and started, I kind of grew up here in Santa Cruz. I'm not here to dismiss management in any type of way. I'd rather let you know that your employees are not doing well. There's a serious morale issue and things are not okay. A couple months back, I stepped back to see whether perhaps I was contributing to this kind of ongoing fighting and back and forth and everything. And I assigned a new organizer, Veronica Velasquez. But unfortunately, things are not good still. And so this time, as I was working on other projects, it made me think about what's been going on with Metro. And in the span of 11 years, you've hired 3 CEOs. And before there used to be lots of consistency with the formal general manager, right? And although Santa Cruz is big, we still think that it's a really kind of small town, right? And we're very diverse. We have the ocean, the mountains, we have the agriculture. And these CEOs have brought their own leadership, right? And they have also brought some chaos, right? And I'm not going to list them. It doesn't do any good, right? But with that, your employees have suffered all these changes. And I don't think that it has been the intent of the board to not think about its employees and how bad the morale is, right? And now Corey is here and he's inherited all of this situation, right? And we continue to fight, right? But it's not doing any good. And so with me taking a step back, I thought about what we did with the city of Santa Cruz after the strike, and Chevron knows, we were like, right? And so what we decided to do is bring a state mediator, which is free of no cost to the union and to labor, to help us build labor relations. And I think that is the only way we can come together and figure out how to best
repair this damaged relationship and to figure out how to best support your employees who value. Everybody that works here, thinks about that teenage girl waiting for that bus at 10 o'clock at night, right? And we want to make sure that that route, is going to pass. Because if you haven't ridden the bus, a bus is a crucial necessity for those that have, right? And so we want to make sure that we continue that mission. And so I'm asking for your thoughtful leadership to ask Corey to sit down with us so that we can figure out how to best repair by bringing an outside person to help us repair this relationship. Negotiations will happen next year. We don't want to enter negotiations fighting. It will be really, really bad. And it will be 10 times worse. So we have time to repair our relationship now. So thank you. I hope you consider it.
Thank you. Do we have any other labor organization comments? Okay, and under additional documentation? Yes, item 10, we've received 6 emails that were sent to the board. And will be added to the agenda packet. So on to the consent agenda, where all items are recommended actions that are considered to be routine, be acted upon as one motion. And do we have any comments from the board regarding this or any requests for the items?
I had some questions about the key performance indicators report. I don't know if you want me to ask them or if you want to make sense to pull it.
If it's a quick conversation, you can just go ahead and.
Well, I've got 4 or 5 for different of the indicators that are reporting.
So gonna be like, but then move it to the regulars. We give it a number. Okay.
Usually it's right at the beginning of the rate.
1A or 1B. Do 14. Okay, after the resolution. And do we have any comments? Sorry. Okay.
Second.
I saw your hand up.
I'm sorry, I didn't see
Did
it.
you want to make a public comment on the consent agenda?
Actually, I thought of something for a general public comment. Is it okay if I speak up now or it's okay if we continue?
We already had general public comments. So now we're on the consent agenda. Thank you. So go ahead. Keep moving. Mike did the motion.
My second.
Second. So a roll call vote, please.
Director Downey,
Aye.
Director Dutra,
Aye.
Director Colin Terry Johnson,
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Leonore,
Aye.
Director Lynn,
Aye.
Director Martinez,
Aye.
Director Newsom,
Aye.
Director Orbach, Director P. Rose Carter,
Aye.
Director Brockton,
Aye.
and the motion passes.
Thank you. So moving on to item 12. We're going to begin our regular agenda with employee longevity awards and presentations of employee awards for 10 years for Rena Solario Gomez and Assistant Operations Manager of the Paratransit Division, and 25 years for Ramona Marquez, Vehicle Service Detailer. We thank you for your yearly service and invite you to say a few words if you wish.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I didn't have anything prepared, but I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Rena and I'm the Assistant Operations Manager for Cruz. I've been here for a decade. It's been a long, great 10 years. Of those 10 years, I've served 3 of those in management. And although I can not say that it's all been rainbows and butterflies, there's been long, stressful days. But it all has been worth it and very rewarding. It's been a privilege to serve and these last 10 years. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good work.
Okay, the Metro logo. and that.
Oh, yeah, okay, Danielle.
So our retiree resolutions of appreciation for this month are for Ed Davidson, bus operator, Theodoro Guerrero, vehicle service detailer, Sarah Hewitt, paratransit operator, Isaac Hawley, IT and IT's director, and Robert Paul Maldonado, bus operator. Any of them with us today? We thank you for your service to Metro. And yes.
Need the resolution.
So we'll take a roll call vote. Oh, wait. There you go.
How everybody doing? Everybody's got a fun. Where's the cookies, coffee? So I just want say a couple words. I mean, 25 years is, if you calculate by months and hours, it's a lot of time, right? So for now, my age is gonna be 25. It's not gonna grow. I'm gonna stay at 25. So I appreciate it to you guys. Good family, good working here in the Metro Zone. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody.
Thank you.
Director Downing,
Aye.
Director Dutra,
Aye.
Director Colin Terry Johnson,
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Leonore,
Aye.
Director Lynn,
Aye.
Director Martinez,
Aye.
Director Newsom,
Aye.
Director Orbach,
Aye.
Director Key Rose Carter,
Aye.
Director Rupkin.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. And then we will insert the item that was in the consent agenda. The key indicators. Don, or do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure, yes, thank you. First, I want to acknowledge that these reports are really good. I really appreciate the effort that the staff puts into putting them together. I think they're really useful. They're very clear and helpful. So I think it's very helpful for the public and for the board. I did have some specific questions on specific data. The first, and this might be for Lena, on slide 6. There's a note on the paratransit that due to outsourcing eligibility, we're seeing a decline of trips of more than 14%. Because we're now, because of the outsourcing, seeing fewer applicants. That seems a little concerning if for some reason fewer people are now able to access Cruz.
If I could answer that.
Sure.
So what happened during the pandemic and before that, we were kind of giving everybody a ride. And now we're with ADA ride, they're following the ADA guidelines. And I think that during the pandemic, to kind of, take care of our passengers, we approved more things, and we weren't able to do the in-person discussions with them. Now with ADA Ride, they are 24/7. They walk through it with the individual. They kind of handhold them and help them, with the process.
Have we heard feedback from those who have been? using their Cruz and
So we heard one customer who's actually here, but it had to do with the process more than the complaint that, you know, that they aren't able to ride. So we haven't received.
Can I say something about that? So I work with the disabled community, and a lot of our disabled adults out there sometimes don't have access to a laptop or internet. They don't know how to navigate the new site. I think it's ADA.
Yes.
They don't know how to navigate it, so they do need somebody to walk them through all the steps. And once they get all that done, they get rejected. Because I had a few of my people that I work with in the community get rejected. And so now we have to go through the appeal process. That's very frustrating for some of our members in our community, disabled community. And it's it does affect the way they get around town. So I think there should be, if there is a possibility, an easier way for them to be able to get the process done quickly. Maybe I had mentioned maybe getting somebody from the Metro for them to come in and work with somebody with Metro to help them get the application done.
Right, 24/7, they will work with the person, they will walk them through, if they don't have the ability to use it, they will walk them through the system. We follow the ADA rules when it comes to both, right?
And I think there's been a lot of rejections of not being, because.
Can I
Yeah.
talk to them? So, in reality, our customer service department will walk people through the process of the application. All they have to do is call and request that, and they'll help them fill out the application. Also, ADA Rides will do that. We haven't seen a lot of denials. This is more people that we gave certification for 1 year due to COVID. They're not renewing. We've only seen, the last time I looked, we only had 23 denials since ADA Rides began. So it's not really that we've got everything in place to help people fill out the application. The ridership thing is more people that are coming back. They're not reapplying because they probably know that they won't qualify.
And we do have a process if they're, an appeal process. Our customer service, Daniel and Rena, Michael, we're all very helpful and very customer service friendly. So if you have people, just contact them.
Yeah. And you guys actually been really good about with scheduling rides for our clients in our community. So I commend you guys for doing that. You guys do a really good job and you schedule everybody correctly, because sometimes there's sometimes there's like little mistakes there here and there, but you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know, Fabian, that at the the recent Metro Advisory Committee meeting, a representative from the company attended and answered all the questions that they had. And I think they were satisfied with them. They are very responsive. I was surprised that they're that quick, and he was with Metro before, previously, so he has experience with us before. Just keep at it if they're. Thank you.
Thank you.
We had a public comment?
Yeah, I do. So, the position that you're talking about was contracted out. It was Eileen. It was very, very hands-on. We thought that the contracting out was only gonna be temporary, but then it was actually a permanent decision. I think you need to relook at that, because under Clifford's leadership, you've also got rid of John. And John was part of our community. He really helped people. And I think you're missing out on a lot of potential people that need help. The contracting out is not gonna work. I think you need to bring back that position that is part of the community, right? And that can really help those that have disabilities in our community. I think things are falling through the cracks. This is one of the issues that our members have been concerned about. Our chapter president of SEIU has talked about this many, many times about his concern. and the lack of services to our disability community. So I'm asking you that you should relook at that, because when Eileen was here, things were totally different and John. So I think you might want to look at that again.
Yeah, I remember those two people, Eileen and John, and they were a blessing to Metro because they help our clients get into American, so.
Any other board comments? This is moved to the regular agenda, so.
Thank you.
The board-
I still had a few more. Sorry. I assume the others won't take as long. On slide 9, there's a comment that the ridership may have been undercounted. I think I'm assuming that it's, or inferring that it's possibly undercounted due to the transition to a new automated passenger counting system. And I'm just wondering what the status of that transition is, and if we know if the new system is up and running and accurate. And there was a comment and public comment, and I've had independent feedback that there's issues with the real-time information. I don't know if the APC system relates to the GTFS system, so it'd just be helpful to know, is this a one-time blip? Fully implemented?
So I can answer that. The APC actually, we've since corrected the slides, so we might want to pull it for that, but we're showing a slight increase in ridership now that we've reconciled the APC data for this quarter versus the GFI. So the GFI was undercounting. The APC is providing more ridership. So this is a couple of things happened in Q2. We went to all-door boarding and we also started relying on APC data to track UCSC ridership. And that just threw a big wrinkle in that quarter's data tracking for ridership. We've spent the last 2 weeks combing the data. We're now showing basically just flip about a 0.7% increase in Q2 ridership for UCSC. So if we want to correct that, then we can bring it back. We are correcting it in the quarterly ridership report that we pulled. Bring it March.
Got it. All right, great, thank you. The next one. Just on slide 13, just noting again that the 16, which was I think since been canceled, was the highest ridership line, followed by, and it was meant to be the riders who were taking the 16, I think were meant to be absorbed by the 18 and 19, which were your next two races. Previously, it was the first quarter data, which wasn't maybe representative because school wasn't much in session, but here's the second quarter, including the second quarter, and I imagine that the impacts from the 16 being lost to the 18 and 19 are creating challenges and probably resulting in the significant amount of pass ups that we see in the pass up data. And I just relatedly then, the slide 25 shows the pass ups, and before the loss of the 16, the 18 and 19 were among the top routes for pass up. So it gives some concern. So that that's being monitored, because I would imagine the situation is only getting worse. I'm definitely hearing complaints of pass ups. And related to that, I don't know to what extent we're able to focus the higher capacity buses, the higher capacity lines and times of day. But I've heard of some single door buses being on campus at peak times, which can't unload passengers, and RTICs being elsewhere in the system, low volume times and low volume runs. So I get that there's a bus limitation because of the maintenance issues, but
yeah, we've had some back and forth since the December meeting. The 16 ridership is the most productive, or was the most productive, because it was designed to be. It just serves class times, but it served a much smaller percentage of total ridership for UCSC. The 18 and 19 are the workhorses that serve the campus all day long. We know it's an issue. We simply don't have the buses right now to operate that route. That's why we suspended it rather than canceling it or canceling it on certain days or certain hours. But I know Freddie and his team are working to bring the fleet that we need back in service. We have 4 articulated buses, for many years. They're 23-year-old buses. They're well beyond their useful life. Knowing this was gonna be an issue, we acquired 9 articulated buses from San Diego that were new to us. 6 of those 9 are down now. They've not been dependable, so it's an issue. There are 9 articulated buses coming with the hydrogen order that should be on site by the middle of the year.
And we only put our ticks on the 18 and 19. We don't put them, they don't serve a purpose for any.
Well, they only go on UCSC routes, but they already know.
Exactly.
They already know. But
And then finally, and it might be related, slide 15 shows the traffic accidents, which I know can often then lead to coaches being out of service. And the trend is on the right-hand side is pretty striking. It's almost double last year, which was already double the year before. So especially when you have fewer buses, if they're getting into collisions, than having to be out of service, it's just making the situation worse. I'm wondering if you know why this exponential increase.
Newer operators. We have over 100 newer operators. Though the accidents are minor, it increases, inevitably would increase our.
And as well as the mileage, because of the increase in the routes, we have a lot more miles per, and unfortunately, this reflects the actual numbers.
Normalized.
Yeah, so I mean, by the next quarter, we'll have something that can normalize it and we'll be able to see and compare whether or not the trends are actually increasing overall or not.
They're more on the road than you were before.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Newer drivers.
Yeah. The temporary fueling facility for hydrogen buses that they put in place.
Yeah.
Can it fuel Arctic as quickly as it fuels a regular bus? Can we prioritize Arctics since we can only fuel 7 of them a night? That thing, is there a way to prioritize those? It seems like it would make some sense given what's going on.
I mean, I assume the Arctics have larger tanks, so it takes a little bit longer, but we're gonna have to cycle through all of the buses that we have to keep them operational, so it's not something we can easily do to just prioritize the Arctics. Well, we'll be running them.
Thank you. For a motion, I think, or is it, because it was on the consent agenda, so it's the regular agenda. Do we have a motion? Hey. Trevor, if you would second. Director Downing? Aye. Director Dutra?
Aye.
Director Military Johnson?
Aye.
Director Koenig?
Aye.
Aye.
Director Lynn? Aye. Director Martinez? Director Newsom?
Aye.
Director Orbach? Aye. Director Kibros Carter?
Aye.
Director Rockett?
Aye.
So we'll move on to 14. Our next item is approval of a motion to authorize the CEO, general manager to enter into a short-term line of credit or bridge loans from our chief financial officer, Chet Farmer. Hello.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm up here. I was hoping I wouldn't come up here for this, but I'm gonna kind of walk you through possibly getting a short-term either line of credit or a bridge loan. This is primarily focused around the idea of we have hydrogen buses coming in. I think we have 13,
Yes.
13 now. So of course we have 44 40 footers as along with 9 Arctics coming in, all within the summer timeframe. So they'll all be here. We will have a temporary hydrogen tank end of summer, somewhere around there, give or take, maybe a little bit sooner. But that's good for about 8 to 10 buses to run in service. And a permanent fueler that we're finalizing, that's going to be sometime in the next spring. So we're talking about a year. In the meantime, we got to maintain service. And to maintain service, we need to keep our older buses here. So that's what I'm going to walk you through and explain kind of very simply high terms on why I'm going forward and the fact that we kind of need a bridge and cash infusion here to cover before we get reimbursed. So gonna move on, kind of explained a little bit here. So we're gonna move on. It is a little bit of an eye chart. Hopefully people can kind of see it. The idea here is the top part of the schedule is the buses that we will actually have here on site in timing. So think of it as now being kind of the end of January, beginning of February. At the end of February, we'll have 138 and so forth, up to 162 buses. Reason why we have 162 is we cannot let our older buses go and be destroyed or sold on and replace them with hydrogen because we just don't have the capacity, of course, i.e. fueling. So based off of talking with John and working with planning, the idea is somewhere around 78 buses for full services throughout the network at any point in time. And as you know, the box that I have kind of circled there in September is when we start actually having the temporary fueler up and running, and we're going to be able to put buses in service. But like I said, it's limited by the amount of fuel. So right now, we're talking about 3 buses, hopefully by September, and then we get up to 8. And then ultimately, as we bring the Arctics, we think we're going to take some of the 40-footers offline, only because, like I said, we're limited, but we want to have some of the 60-footers running, cycle them through until we get the full tank going up next year. So in the meantime, we still got to keep buses around, and this is where I'm going. So here's how our hydrogen buses are going to be coming in right now. At the very top, we expect to have all 53 buses here by July. So 53 buses, that's a lot of buses. And then after we get 53 buses, we'll be able to fuel maybe 8 to 10 in service. And then, as you notice, we're basically moving between the hydrogen 40-footer and Arctics. That was in January of next year. And then after we get the full fueler going, then the remaining buses will be placed in the service, and then we'll start taking the old buses out. And this will probably be a phased approach. We'll talk about it at some point. So ultimately, if you remember this chart from the budget that we went through and we talked about this. So the way our cash is kind of put aside that we have agreed to, the board has agreed to, is the fact that we have some, the very top buckets, the fully funded workers compensation, insurance liability, operations, sustainability, and cash flow. Those kind of really reserve buckets we place aside in case something happens, we don't get cash. Federal government said, nope, we're not going to give you money. We have money set aside so that we can keep this place going at least for some short period of time. As well as liability insurance reserve fund, we got to keep that money that's restricted on the side. Down below, we've made 2 buckets that the board has approved, which is the bus replacement fund that's over on the left-hand side and the UAL OPEB 10 million that's on the right-hand side. Both of those buckets are money set aside, one bus replacement to help pay for buses, and then UAL OPEB, that's to pay for our pension and retiree health because it's getting, you'll hear more about this in the budget conversation we have in this moment. Well, lastly, what we have is 2 buckets there in the middle. It's called Operating Capital Reserve Fund and COVID Recovery. So COVID Recovery is money that we're going to use as we get ourselves out of, as ridership builds up, as we start to pull ourselves out of the COVID, we are going to use that funding as needed. The Operating Capital Reserve Fund is money that we've set aside that we can either put on capital projects or help subsidize operating as we need. So between the combination of the 2 buckets right there, you're talking about $24 million $34 million that are available for us to use, but understand that how we use it, we got to be very prudent on it. Because that goes away, it's very hard to have it come back. So now let's talk about the hydrogen funding and how we're basically paying for it. So right now, a little bit of eye chart, but I just want to show you between the 40 footers and 60 footers, we are paying for all these buses in various different grants, rebates, settlements and so forth, as well as our own money, which come out of those two buckets that I showed you, the $34 million. So right now, federal funds, it's basically $20.6 million. We haven't, I'm sure. So I can look at this. All right. So it's so the federal funds right now, and this is to pay for all the buses, is about $20.6 million. We have TRSA funding from the state, which is about 13.2. We're doing our LPP grant, which is about 918. We're doing our state of good repair and Measure D, which is about another 10, almost $11 million. And then we have what we call the VW mitigation fund, which I'm going to go a little bit further into that later. But this is the lawsuit on the diesel settlement with VW. And we get $480,000 per bus as a result. And then our HVIP, which is basically think of that as the emission. If you go zero emissions vehicle, you got a rebate back. And this is a rebate, the fact that we're going to zero emissions with our hydrogen bus. And that's 12.9. And that's $258,000 per bus that we receive. So kind of put it more in summary. So if I look at this in total, right now, the federal funding is about 2.6. So if we take a bus, so we accept the bus, it comes here, they go through it. Our mechanic shop says, hey, this is perfect. We're going to set the bus. We're ready to go. At that point, it triggers where we have 30 days to pay that invoice on that bus. Okay. So federal funding, which could be part of the bus, we could turn around as soon as we go and get that invoice and go to pay, we could turn around within usually the next day to the first week, we'll receive the funding back in our bank account, which is actually really good news. Second one down on the TRSA funding. So the TRSA funding, what we're finding is, and we're going to test it, we're not quite sure yet, is the fact that we are going to be accepting buses over a period of time. And what they want is a quarterly statement that comes in and says, okay, you've accepted 8 buses. Okay, now submit for those 8 buses at that point. And then it goes to the process of how long do we get it? And right now, at this point, right now, we're talking about, we're thinking on average, probably 60 days post the end of the quarter. Now we're in February. That means all the buses that we accept now, all the way through March, we're going to put in at that point in time. And then 60 days from there, we'll get the cash. You see, there's a bit of a gap, especially if you do any buses within the first 2 months of the quarter. We're sitting waiting for that money to kind of come in. LPP. So technically we're working on that to try to get the money in. It's very little money, but like I said, it takes a long time to kind of go through the process. So SGR and Measure D, we already have that. That's money that's in our bank right now. So we'll be actually using that money, which you saw in those buckets that I had up there, the $34 million. So that money is actually sitting in there. So that's really sitting on the bus replacement fund. And so we're going to be pulling that over. And then the VW mitigation fund, I'm going to skip that in a second. And then the HVIP, which is the rebate. So when we actually go and get an invoice from New Flyer and we pay it, we don't pay the gross amount of what the bus is, which is like 1.6, almost 1.6 million. We actually pay the net amount after the HVIP. And so the HVIP actually gets paid straight to New Flyer, and then we pay the remaining. So the buses right now that I know for a fact, because we have it, is $1.81 million. I'm sorry, $1.18 million, $1.19 million after the HVIP rebate. So effectively, we're spending $1.2 million out the door when we pay the price. And then I'm going to go back to the last piece of our funding is the VW piece. So the VW piece is the biggest piece. So we get $480,000 per bus as part of getting that money, but it's not the bus that we get hydrogen wise, even though we pay the full amount, it's actually, as part of it, we actually have to take one of our buses and actually bring it offsite, have it destroyed, and at which point basically take it out of service. We're taking an emissions generating vehicle out of service and destroying it. And once we destroy it, then there's a period of time, then we get the money. So as I go back to what I said earlier, is the fact that we need to keep these buses around until we have the full fueling capacity or availability for hydrogen buses, which is not till next year, which means that we'll be accepting buses. We'll be paying $480,000 per every bus for 53 buses coming here. And they'll be sitting on our lot. We'll be using them and so forth. I mean, don't get me wrong. There'll be some that we can destroy just for the fact that we have the temporary fuel and we'll be able to actually do stuff. But for the most part, I think there's 15 buses, but the rest of the buses are 1-for-1 match will not be until summer of next year. And then at that point, that's when we could take them off our lot, have them destroyed, and then submit to get the 480,000. So you can imagine, you take 15 buses out of the 53, now you're at 38, at $500,000 each. You're talking what, $19 million. So we're going to float $19 million for a year or more out of our own money, and then turn around and, have to do something. We'll get the money back, but we're floating for that period of time. So with that in mind, to kind of give you an idea, don't worry. Seriously, don't worry about it. So as part of this is kind of give you an idea of cash flow. What we project or think based off of timing of buses coming in, what funding vehicles we're going to use to pay for these buses, timing of when we receive the money back. And then, of course, the idea of the VW piece, which kind of peters out for like another year, and then we receive money. So as part of that, this is kind of the funding curve of just the buses, of the money going out the door and then money coming back in. And we're going to play with this a little bit. I can't show you every bazillion scenario, but I wanted to kind of give you the worst case view here of what we think is really the cash flow impacts here to Metro, and then, of course, moving forward. So the idea is from now until November, we're going to be bottoming out all our cash. And that's why I'm asking for either a line of credit where we'll use our cash. And then let me back up. Let me explain this a little bit in a little layman's terms. So I'm going to go out for a line of credit or a bridge loan, or a combination of both, because there's the way these bankers they can really put these things together differently. And I'm going to explain that here in a second. So really what I'm looking for is something like this. I'm looking at somewhere around $15 million, possibly up to 25. I'm looking for 25, but I want at least the $15 million, either line of credit or bridge loan. A line of credit is where you draw down as you need it and then you pay interest. Whereas a bridge loan is like the day one is like, here's all the money, start paying interest. And at the end of the loan, here's all your money back and you've paid interest the whole time. Now, banks don't just give you a line of credit. They're going to actually probably want to say some kind of minimum amount, so forth of that nature. I kind of went in and I said, worst case scenario, give you one here. I could go through all sorts of different scenarios of what combination of a line of credit, bridge loan. I think, you could go in with a bridge loan of 5 million with a line of credit above it. The idea is banks need to make money too. And if we have a line of credit and we're not pulling the money, they're not making any money, but they're reserving that money for us. So they're going to want to ask for something. So I kind of came up with one little thing and said, hey, what if we had a loan origination fee of about a quarter point? So if I borrow $25 million, but my quarter point is about $62.5 million or $62,500. That's the way they kind of make their money. And then there's other estimated fees where like closing docs and so forth of that nature, but another 25,000. And then assuming that we are going to pull money. I mean, yes, we will show you those buckets of 34 million. 10 million of that is already going to go to the buses. And that gives us some wiggle room, but once we get down to close to $5 million, I'm gonna start pulling money like as a line of credit. So if I'm pulling money and I'm gonna dip into that, I'm assuming I'm gonna dip into it at $15 million for exactly 1 year. Worst case is that's the case. It may be less, could be a shorter period of time, it really just depends. And I'm assuming the federal funds rate, they're gonna come in with some kind of variable rate, they'll be tied to some market activity. I just use federal funds rate plus 7%. You know, to me, I think that's the worst case, assuming interest rates stay the same. If they go down, then we get the benefit of it. That's about another $1.1 million. And the total cost to us to borrow all this money is about 1.1 million. And I'm hoping it's gonna be less. So really, that's what I'm looking at, kind of going forward. And it's to bridge that gap on what I'm showing right here. All that cash going out the door to get us to where we can then start destroying the buses, get the VW grant money in, and then make ourselves whole. And really, that's pretty much it. Is I'm asking that I can go forward with, and like I said, I haven't gone and talked to banks, but I need to get their term sheet and what they're willing to offer. I'm looking to go negotiate, figure out which one it is. And then at that point forward, have Corey go ahead and sign. And I need it sooner because like I said, we have 13 buses. And each one of these buses, at some point, we're going to start approving like 2 a week as soon as we accept them. And that $1.2 million is going to go out the door. And it's going to be like a money machine, you know, over the next few months. And every week I go by, that's more money going out the door. And I really need this in place so that we have that security in case that happens. So I'll open the door, let everybody talk.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have a couple questions. Do we have any sort of financial policies that provide guidance on the type of financial institutions that we go to? Do we prioritize local financial institutions or whoever gives us the lowest rates, or, you know, what sort of guidance do we have in place for this type of borrowing?
So I've checked, and Julie, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we don't really have a policy in the sense of whether it's local, whether it's a national institution. I'll tell you right now, I have reached out to 3 local banks and 2 national banks. And I have them already in the works doing all the work that they have to do. And they're going to come back with what they feel is right in the sense of a line of credit or a bridge loan, secured, unsecured, and so forth, and give their best proposal. But as for what they come back with really will determine too also what type of federal guidelines they have to go through as well.
You kind of alluded to my next question, which is about securing or collateral or whatnot. Do we expect that the loan may be secured, and what would we use as any sort of collateral?
So I'm aiming for unsecured. And if I don't get unsecured, I do go down the secured route. It's a lot longer because I can't really lock the buses in as security, because since the Fed put $1 in that bus, the bus is now federalized, which means it's a whole nother process. So I got to go through a process where you have to guarantee, for example, like all the VW money to come in as collateral against the bus, or for that matter, it could be something of that nature. And it is a long, drawn out process. That's why I'm trying to do it now, because if I have to go down that process, it's going to take a few months to kind of go through it, because I got to actually then hire an advisor. I got to hire basically another law firm to kind of come in so we can go ahead and move forward.
And is the action you're recommending for us to approve you and the CEO to make this decision, or is there another sort of financial committee of the board that weighs in on the final terms once you have something?
I think we just go ahead, and I'm asking to just go forward and let us do it, and then we'll come back and give you the results of what it is and not slow down the process, because you can see, if I go back to just kind of give you an idea, that big drop all the way down is all the buses that are going to come in between now and June. And by the time we kind of go through the legalese of the wording on the documents and all that stuff, we can inform you of what we have before we sign the documents. Because I think we'll have a board meeting by then, but it would be nice to be able to just move forward, be done and lock it in. And this is a short-term thing, no more than like 24 months, maybe within another, 12-month extension. That's all.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate the urgency and I'm glad you're thinking of this and it sounds like you're heading in the right direction. Personally, I would love to see us working with a local financial institution to try to keep this money local and, it's $1 million coming out of our reserves, if it could go somewhere locally, that'd be fantastic. So I don't know if that probably doesn't need to be part of the motion, but, just as a board member, I definitely.
I second that. Not a motion. Thank you for the presentation and the work, but we've had this conversation, but I just wanted to bring it here. You said a couple times that was the worst case scenario.
So worst case scenario.
And I know it's difficult to estimate the best case scenario, but let's say we are able to get an unsecured line of credit and don't really have to draw down, we could conceivably be paying half of that. Correct?
Oh, no, well, if I don't draw down at all and I go with the unsecured line, ultimately it's really the loan initiation fee and other fees. That's all I get. So you're talking about under $100,000.
Yeah, so conceivably, best case scenario could be 100,000.
But I'm sure that if I get somebody like that, they're gonna have some kind of minimum that they're gonna ask us to say, hey, give us at least a minimum of like $300,000 inclusive of all that. So.
Just wanted to bring that here. I know you and I have talked about it, but thank you.
Just wanted to say this came before the finance committee. We spent about an hour and a half on it and we recommend this.
Just a couple more questions. Back to the buckets of reserves. The Operations Sustainability and Reserve Fund, which has nearly $20 million. You speak to, it seems like you're saying that would be available for this purpose?
Yeah, that's the 3 months of operating in case something happens and we don't get funding. That's to keep and maintain the agency so that we can keep the buses rolling and keep people employed. So.
And given that this is not a funding issue, but a timing issue, we know that we will get that money back from the VW settlement. Do we think there's enough of a risk that we're gonna lose operating funding to be able to keep the buses running that we feel like we've?
Oh, the government we have today turned us money off one day and then got turned on by the afternoon. So until they kind of go through that area of the government, we just don't know. That's pretty much the scary portion.
Is there a scenario where if we can go the line of credit route, which certainly would be preferable, we could draw on our own funds first? And only pivot to the line of credit.
That's my goal, is the fact of
not just from those two bottom buckets.
Yeah, my ultimate goal for the best case scenario for us is not a bridge loan, but actually a line of credit. And then in those two buckets down below, the 15.4 and 18.5, which is $34 million, big Tim's, that's already covered on our buses. So 24 million, I'm gonna draw that down till I get to like maybe $5 million left, because we just never know, because with the hydrogen tanks coming in and so forth, we got to put all this money out. But at least get down to 5 million and then draw the line of credit. And then ultimately put the line of credit back first as we start getting the VW grant money in, and then replenish those buckets. So that's why
I guess I was asking whether it would make sense to add the top bucket into that. So that,
the 19.7,
right, so it makes it less likely that we'll have to draw as much from a line.
I'll be honest with you, I don't want to have it, but that's a board approval, because that's the board approved bucket. So we'd have to change that. Which I understand.
Yeah, the board policy is to have it there for when you need cash. Which it seems like it's the situation. So if you think this wouldn't fit with the policy, it may be worth, as time goes on, if that would be an option, to bring it back to the board to see if the board would want to draw even some of that before paying 7% for somebody else. Yeah, I would suggest that, I guess. And is there a reason that you're seeking this not through kind of a competitive process as opposed to just formally talking to individual
Somewhat. Yeah, if you just go through competitive, then it becomes a whole big process of putting stuff out there, having people come in and bid, scoring. And I just don't have time.
Last question, I'm sure the answer is no, but the constraint here is caused by the limitations of the template refueling station.
Not some temporary, but it's really the permanent fueling station, which is gonna be like March, April of next year. So we're gonna be getting these buses in and we're gonna pay for the buses. And now we'll only have a portion or a little piece of the buses, a fifth of the buses, who are able to actually be refueled. And so you have 4/5 of the buses that we paid for. That we're still waiting to take old buses out of service for the VW grant to reimburse us.
Right, I get where I was going is there any way to increase the capacity of the temporary fueling station?
It is what it is. So, I mean, here's the issue, and Derek, you can correct me if I'm
I can
wrong.
just add,
So hold on a second. So right now, we're looking at anywhere from 8 to 10 buses in service. But we gotta actually make sure that we have fuel in all our buses because we'll cycle them as we go through. So effectively, you're really kind of putting more fuel than 8 to 10, but there's a limitation and he can tell you a little bit.
it's really the frequency of the fuel delivery. So if we go to a daily delivery and fill that tank, we should be able to fill at a minimum 10 buses. And the provider, Plug Power, has told us potentially up to 20 or 25 buses maybe would be serviced by a daily delivery. They haven't used this in that many locations for transit. So right now, no one's had 25 buses to test using that fuel. Most agencies have 5 or 10 on a pilot. So we think optimistically, maybe half of the buses will be able to get fuel with a daily delivery. We could potentially have more than one fuel delivery per day. The other factor is that the cost per kilogram of hydrogen is quite a bit more expensive than the cost per gallon of diesel. And so there will be a fuel cost impact if we accelerate that. That's our future anyway, until the hydrogen market stabilizes. So
Having enough supply for all those vehicles and the higher cost is that's the path we're on.
that's right. And then there's a factor also of how quickly you can fuel these buses. They take about 12 minutes to fuel a hydrogen bus. So, I think to make pull out in the morning, we'd usually fuel overnight. So we need to ease into this and learn what we can do. We don't want to overcommit. But I think as Shebri said, that there's a much better case scenario than it's a possibility as well here.
A comment, I don't think this needs to be added as a direction, but to Director Martinez's point, I think it would be good to have this as a standing agenda item, at least for the finance committee. While we work through it, just to get updates on how it's going, and then if something significant happens, then we agendize it for the board.
On playing the historian here after just 4 years on the board, but for new members, I mean, this is, ultimately a pretty small problem to have, given what we were looking at 4 years ago, where our aging fleet was about to completely fall apart and we had no visibility on how we were going to replace this many buses.
And,
The driver.
And the driver issue too, but I mean, these various state and federal grants and the VW grant have been a real lifeline for the agency. And of course, now we have some of the implementation challenges around the funding, and of course, some of our older fleet that we've really ramped up during Reimagine Metro actually failing as they will
The coming years anyway. But of all the problems we could have, this one seems relatively small and manageable to me. And I want to thank Chuck for the quick work and foresight on this, and that we have this cushion moving forward.
Just one more question. So a lot of the buses that are going to be destroyed, what is the reimbursement for that? What was the number you gave me or you gave us?
The total reimbursement?
Yeah, for destroyed buses. How many? So you just,
180,000.
and where would
That's
that
the
money go?
VW side, huh?
And where would that money go? In what pot? Or does it go back to the?
Oh, it comes back to us. So we ship off the bus that we're gonna destroy. Somebody destroys it, they take pictures, do all the paperwork, it goes to VW, and it goes through that process, and then we end up getting $480,000 check for every single bus.
Chuck, if you bring the bucket slide back, basically every bucket gets replenished except for the cap reserve, the 10 million, the bus replacement fund. That money will be spent on the order. That's our share
out of the 84 million, Metro is putting 10 million of our bus replacement fund. The rest of the money is basically
Yeah, that's-
recouped.
That's the 3474 Major D SGR.
And we're still working on other grants that may knock that down, even down to as low as 6 or 7 million. We're constantly trying to figure out how to get more funding in the door.
And it's just a process. It takes time.
Yeah, and we got, I believe, we just got the last 53 locked in or something like that, or we got.
Yeah, we did actually. So there's 52 out of the 53 engines will be destroyed. So one bus will not have a VW. We just got the last of the HVIP. You can only do 50 for the state law in 1 year. And now that it's a new calendar year, we applied and we just secured the last 3. So all 53 go HVIP. Actually, we're the only agency in the state that has anything even close to this. We secured the largest pot by far of the VW and the HVIP.
Thank you.
Well, and for those that might not have been here, we had 9 buses over 1 million miles. Or 11?
No, 2 and 1 on its way.
No, and on for our old buses,
Oh.
there were like 9 of the fleet that were over 1 million, way over beyond, yeah,
Close.
yeah, yeah. So, this is huge to be able to, and so many breaking down, not being able to keep them on the road, which was causing the pass up. So this is so encouraging as Mono had said, from where we were a few years ago, it seemed insurmountable several years ago. I mean, really with the depth that we were facing and lack of buses and lack of people. So it's exciting. And we did spend, as Mike said, a lot of time asking questions, and it's good. I mean, so we understood it. We were having the same concerns all of you are hearing and expressing, but it's a lot to absorb, but very exciting for what we can accomplish and that these funds will be replaced. So
I just have one question. What happens if we don't do that?
If we don't do this,
We didn't.
I don't know if we can afford to accept buses. And I know Ed over here talked about the fact that we could go into that 19.7 of cash, but then we're getting into areas where we may have invoices that come in for Messer doing the permanent fueler that could actually be postponed or delayed paying until we actually take a bus out of service to get funding. I mean, there's all these different things in play because we're taking our cash and really kind of getting down to a point where I don't feel. Could be right.
Juggling. A lot of people. Oh, well. Do we have any public comment on the?
I think the concern that our VMU folks have is we haven't heard enough of where you're gonna put all these buses, and your fleet is very, very small. And I don't know if you're considering that because you're outsourcing now. You asked us to outsource some of the repairs because your fleet is so small, right? And it's very old. So something to consider when bringing all these buses, if you consider that, because that needs to actually be something you look at. Just a thought.
Any other public comment? Do we have any online? No. So this requires a motion.
Recommended actions. Second.
Do we have Manu? Scott? And a roll call vote. Director Downing? Aye. Director Dutra?
Aye.
Director Kalantari Johnson? Aye. Director Koenig?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director Lynch? Aye. Director Martinez? Aye. Director Newsom?
Aye.
Director Orbach? Aye. Director Key Rose Carter?
Aye.
Director Rockin?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll now hear from John Ergo, our Chief Planning and Innovation Officer, with an update from the California Integrated Travel Project on recommended fare policy changes in it.
Okay, now for something completely different. Morning, John Ergo, Chief Planning and Innovation Officer. Welcome, new members and directors. I think we do our official onboarding next month, but nice to meet you. We're really excited to introduce our integrated ticketing project. And in a minute, I'm going to invite Callie Senizal from the California Integrated Travel Project up here to present her slides. Some of you may recall that in 2023, as part of our TIRSIP award, our Transit and Intercity Rail Program Award, which is just saw us funding a major portion of the hydrogen program. A piece of that was to introduce what we call our integrated ticketing project, which envisioned is implementing a tap to pay payment system across our entire fleet. So making it as easy to pay for your transit fare as it is to buy a cup of coffee at a local cafe. So meaning using your mobile phone, credit card, prepaid debit cards, which not only will increase access to fare products throughout the county, make it easy and convenient, but also speed up the boarding process, get people moving past their homes. So the first step to that was evaluating our current fare structure. Some of you have been on the board since 2011 or in the area, know that not much has changed since that time, since we introduced the $2 fare. Our current fare boxes are that vintage and they need to be replaced imminently. And so we need a new system. We got this funding, and so we're really kicking this project off today. And Callie and her team has done a deep dive into our data and how people currently pay their fares in our system to make sure that we're going to be implementing the right technology and system when we do this project. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it to set you up, Callie. Invite you to the stage. We have a MST super fan in the audience. They've done a lot in this respect to pilot different mobile ticketing or contactless payment options. We have the benefit of seeing the different things that they've piloted. I think Callie touched on that a little bit, but please come up. Good luck with this.
All right.
I think it's that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Find out. Hi, all. Thanks so much for bearing with me. I'm hoping to keep this interesting and engaging because it's a topic that I'm personally very passionate about. So let's go. Like John said, I'm Callie Senizal. I am part of the team supporting Caltrans on the California Integrated Travel Project, also known as CalATP, which is something we've been working closely with on Santa Cruz Metro staff on the Integrated Travel Project. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about CalATP and introduce you to some of the global payment trends that we've been seeing inform our work with Metro along with agencies throughout California, including how they've been shaping specifically the project goals and principles for Metro. Over the last few months, like John mentioned, we've been working closely with staff to understand their fare policy and how your current products have been used. So I'm going to go into a bit of that analysis. Just so you know, this analysis is really intended to be more directional and help identify areas of opportunity to inform our project, and not necessarily like an in-depth fare policy analysis, but it does reveal some very interesting directions in terms of how people are using the system and how they're paying today. What kind of fare medium, where they're purchasing their passes, like and whether in person, online, or at the fare box. This information is really helpful to inform what Santa Cruz might be looking for their future payment system. So I'll wrap up with a bit of a timeline, next steps, and of course, happy to answer questions throughout the presentation or at the end, whatever you prefer. So first of all, what is CalATP? The California Integrated Travel Project is committed to making transit simpler and more cost-effective for agencies and riders. It seeks to promote consistency in how riders access and pay for transit. And this is working towards this goal and through sort of three initiatives. The first being introducing contactless bank card payment on transit, also known as open loop payments. So you might hear me refer to it as open loop or contactless throughout this presentation. Second being increasing the reach of contactless payments by introducing a digital verification of benefits. So seniors and veterans are able to take advantage of those discounts easily through this open loop system. And of course, making transit more visible by improving real-time vehicle information, such as GTFS real time.
So through CalATP, my colleagues and I have been providing advisory support for transit agencies across California and even outside of California on these three initiatives. We're really here as advisors to agencies to think through the moving parts, provide advice, but really at the end of the day, y'all are in the driver's seat, so to speak. And so really just want you all to feel confident about how you move forward when it comes to payment. So looking at, there we go. So what are contactless payments? Open loop payments allow for riders to pay by tapping their contactless bank card or their digital wallet in their smartphone to pay. So just like you may do at the grocery store or getting a cup of coffee. Looking at other agencies in the US and around the world, open loop payments have really contributed to several key factors. You've seen an increase in transit ridership, seen lower administrative costs, reduced overhead, along with multiple other benefits that are kind of called out here. So to help agencies get started with open loop payments, the state of California did negotiate several master services agreements, also known as MSAs, with multiple vendors that provide the various components of the open loop payment system. So this way, transit agencies can purchase these services directly without having to go through their own competitive procurement process. Many agencies have already taken advantage of these MSAs, including Monterey Salinas, Anaheim, Sacramento Regional Transit, along with plenty of others to implement the new open loop system. So Metro is in really good company here. So in 2023, you may have noticed that the Metro was awarded state TIRCIT funds for the implementation of an integrated travel project, which would leverage the MSAs that I mentioned to implement and procure this open loop payment system. With this project, Metro really aims to focus on improving the ease of payment, ensuring equitable rider experience, avoiding vendor lock-in, so really getting tied to one vendor for an indefinite amount of period, and really build a system that is modular and interoperable with wherever Metro may go with its technology. The integrated ticketing project afforded Metro with an opportunity to really assess and update its fare policy along with its payment system. Like John mentioned, it's been in pretty much consistent since 2011. And so as ridership has changed, as technology has changed, there's often a great opportunity with these updates to reconsider how people are riding and what that looks like. So CalATP recently published some statewide fare policy guidelines to help agencies with assessing their fare policy. And so these are some of those guiding principles from those state policy guidelines. Complex fare structures and multiple fare products can often be really confusing for riders. So one of the top guiding principles is around prioritizing fare simplification, looking at products that are intuitive, flexible, and accessible. In addition, the guiding principles encourage agencies to avoid fare products that might require pre-purchase or long-term commitments. So that's like having to purchase like a 31-day pass up front may be beyond the reach of someone with of low income with other financial limitations. So this way, riders have greater flexibility to travel and take advantage of these opportunities. So in looking at Santa Cruz Metro's current fares in light of this guidance, we found a few things. First, I want to call out that Metro has only 26 fare products, which may seem like a lot, but that puts you in the low end compared to some agencies, which have upwards of sometimes 300. So that means this makes it a lot easier for riders, especially those who might be new to transit or infrequent transit riders, to understand what option might work for them. I wanted to flag a few other items for consideration, such as the height restriction for youth, which can sometimes be challenging to enforce. The guidelines really do focus on recommendations around how the various ratios are between the different fare products. So where are they comparing the base fare to, say, the daily and monthly fare, and what those multipliers might look like. So Metro's current multiplier among those different types of fare classes is generally in line with guidelines. So that's a great thing to call out, but this is also does mean that there could be some adjustments, some tweaks there in terms of what those products are and what those products are priced at, to depend on what kind of travel behavior that
Metro might want to incentivize. So, and then of course, calling out that there are a few different products here in terms of 1 day, 3 day, 7 day, and a 15 ride pass. So again, different types of pass products encourage different types of riding behavior. So when we take a closer look at how these fare products are being utilized, it's important to notice that 21% of boardings are fare free. So this is the fare free for you pilot. These are legally blind riders in that category. And that nearly 60% of boardings are invoiced through contracts for transit services. As such, that means that only 20% of boardings pay their fares directly when boarding a bus. So this is something to keep in mind when we get deeper into the fare analysis regarding what products are used most and least and where people are buying their passes, because all of those will fit within this 20% category. So what are we seeing when we're looking at how these products are being utilized? 78% of all paid boardings are either used as a single ride fare product, a day pass, or a 31-day pass. So at 78%, so like I mentioned, that's a subset of 20 riders. So that means about 15% of all boardings are using one of these products. And then you can see here at the end, the ones that are really unused, the 3-day, the 7-day. They make up among those 3 and 7-day passes. That's about, again, 0.5% of those paid boardings, which is like less than 0.1% of all boardings.
Can't read it, so could you give us a couple of examples in the middle?
Sorry?
I can't see it, so could you read a couple of examples from the middle?
Yes, absolutely. So this graph shows from the top to the bottom, the fare products. The slides are also included in the packet if that is easier for you. At the top, it's adult local 1 ride. It's the first row. It's 37.7%. Then followed by discount local 31 day, 16%. Adult local 31 day, 11.5%. Carrying down to the bottom where you see adult local 3 passes, those all range between 1/10 and 0.2% of those boardings.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, just a real of quick question course. on the prior slide, the contract-based plan. Can you give an example of what those are? Sure. So those could include some like the institutional pass programs that Metro has with employers, also with UCSC, Cabrillo, those sort of service-based contracts. Okay, thank you. So based on this fare policy analysis, we had a few recommendations for how Metro's fare structure could potentially be adjusted with the new integrated fare and payment system. So thinking about simplifying the fare structure by eliminating some of those really underused pass products, those 3 days, those 7 days. Again, maintaining the current pricing, thinking about if there's any tweaks there that might work better for your fare structure, but it's generally in line with those statewide pricing guidelines. Consider adjusting the youth eligibility threshold from height to age, as that is just more consistent and equitable and easier to enforce. And then, of course, consider a payment system that works for these primary rider types. So as we see among this data, a lot of those boardings are coming from these invoiced students, invoiced riders, from these fare-free riders, and of course, riders who are using single rides and monthly passes. So let's talk a bit about the characteristics of the current payment system. Where are riders purchasing their passes? Because this is important to understand maybe what are the channels that need to be prioritized and where to really get information out about how to use the system. So approximately 70% of fares are purchased at the fare box. So that's someone getting on, they just either paying a single ride or buying a daily monthly pass right there from the driver. Again, this is still within that subset of 20% of customer directly paid fares. So that's approximately 14% of all boardings purchased at the fare box, just from some context. 23% of fares are purchased through the Splash Pass app. So that's something that you kind of see throughout is the popularity of using the mobile app that Metro has to purchase and manage their passes. All other sales channels, so that could either be through bulk sales, through the ticket vending machines, also known as TVMs, in-person locations, purchasing on the website, all that makes up less than 7% of sales. So, and then when we do a deeper dive on the data, we can notice some trends, some interesting trends between, say, discount fare riders and adult fare riders. So to orient you a bit to the slide on the left here, you see that this is sort of the breakdown of sales channels for full fare products. And then on the right, you see a breakdown of the sales channels for those maybe purchasing discount fare products. So some things that I wanted to really call out between those. So you see that, for instance, the in-person sales, which is the dark blue segment here on the right, just generally being much larger for discount fare riders than full fare riders. So that's saying that, discount riders are more likely to want to purchase purchasing their passes in person. Another interesting item I wanted to call out is here on this bottom row, the local one, right? The difference between discount fare riders and full fare riders is that discount riders are relying much more on purchasing their passes in the app than, say, in person at the fare box. So this may be due to the fact that there isn't an eligibility check when purchasing a discount pass in the app. So anyone can just buy whatever fare category fits them and then show that to the driver as they board.
Do you have an age group of who's buying those passes, the splash pass? Because some people don't understand sometimes their phones.
Yeah.
And to purchase, I purchased bus passes online and first day was difficult, but then I got it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we have information on that age breakdown.
Yeah, is it college kids? Is it Cabrillo College? Is it high school kids?
I mean, we know that all of our youth aren't paying for their fares.
Right now, there's, yes.
Currently with the youth it's free, so it's, adults and senior are disabled. And between those, we haven't done the serving appropriate.
Yeah. And then there's one thing, so it's like as part of the purchasing through the app, it's self-identified in terms of what category you are. There isn't like an eligibility check, which is one interesting thing when we talk about with the open payments is that there's an ability to link that credential through like login.gov. So you automatically can attest to being 65 and older and then getting that discount rate when you tap your payment card. So makes things a little more seamless on that end. So when we're talking about another aspect of the current payment system, we looked at what fare medium. So this is it cash? Is it a bag stripe? Is it a smart card? Is it the app? So that's the fare medium being used when riders are paying for transit. So again, we're seeing sort of a similar trend in that the majority of those customer paid fares, 72%, are purchased with cash. And across all of the customer paid fares, half of them come from adult level single rides paid at the fare box. So again, that's what a lot of the rider behavior that you're seeing, people getting on board, paying for one ride, cash at the fare box. And again, the Splash Pass app accounting for 24% of all of those fares. Some interesting items I wanted to call out here in terms of that smart cards tend to be loaded with monthly passes. So out of all of the, say like the discount local monthly passes, 62% of those someone had loaded on a smart card, and 34% of the full fare monthly pass were loaded on smart card. So it's just instead of cash or another format, even the app, smart cards seem to be the preferred way to use those passes. And then mag stripes tend to also be a pretty low utilized form of fare media. So only like 3% of customers paying with those, and those tend to be, again, single rides and day passes. Again, doing a bit of a closer look at any differences in terms of riders who are purchasing full fare products and those purchasing discount fare products. You do see that discount riders tend to be using smart cards. So that's the yellow segment. Again, discount products on the right and full fare products on the left, and yellow correlating with smart card. So you're seeing the sort of the yellow segment larger across all of those fare products for riders purchasing discount fare products. And similarly, mag stripes as well. So that is blue. You can see that the blue bar being larger for the ones under discount and then those under full fare. Cool. So what does this all mean? I know I just threw a lot of data at you and so happy to answer questions, but generally, what we're looking here is to really understand what benefits contactless payment, open loop payment would provide for the riders and how they're currently using the system. So first, you're noticing again that high use of the mobile app usage. So a future open loop payment system would be able to continue to support mobile app usage. Riders will be able to use the mobile app to pay that can integrate with the system. And then these riders are often usually easy to transition to using like the digital wallet, using their payment card in a mobile wallet. Given the high utilization of single fare rides as well as daily and monthly, open loop payment can be really easy and convenient for them. Within open loop payment, there is a feature called fare capping, which is would correlate essentially to like a daily or monthly pass. So it enables riders to get the value of that pass without having to pay upfront the full amount. So as they tap, once they reach the value of that pass, then all of the fares and the future taps are free because they've essentially earned the value of a pass. Given that 60% of boardings are under that invoice category, there are several ways to accommodate this that we are working through with staff, and it's something that we will explore as part of the contracting process with vendors, including integrations, QR codes, mobile apps, other types of integrations. And as I mentioned before, the majority of customer paid fares occurring with cash at the fare box. So thinking of accommodations and support for those cash preferred riders is important. And what we found is that with other agencies that open loop payments can actually provide a pathway to financial inclusion for a lot of cash preferred riders. So transit agencies have been able to form banking partnerships that help riders become banked and get access to financial tools that help them in other aspects of their daily life. So these partnerships could look like programs that connect riders with safe, affordable, for your low-cost banking accounts, partnering with retail locations that support loading cash to digital wallets so that they can take advantage of these benefits. So there's really great programs available as part of launching the system.
Question.
Yes.
So if we were to move to this system, we would do away with the cash option? Is that how?
This would just be seen as a complement to some of the existing fare.
Away with the cash option.
I believe
From a technology point of view, we're looking at non-validating fare boxes as an option. They're a lot cheaper to implement and they don't have the intelligence of the current fare box, shifting most of the investment into the contactless system. And then over time, demonstrating that we can shift riders into the contactless realm by things like fare capping. They wouldn't be eligible for the fare cap if they pay with cash. And so a rider who would, eventually have these other tools made available to them, even if they were unbanked or underbanked, they could access these low cost or fee-free contactless payment cards and accounts. And then we would obviously work through the marketing department to do outreach to try to bring the whole community into that realm. If we could demonstrate low dependence on cash, then we would make the case to try to, if not eliminate it, but to reduce investment in cash collection.
And my thought goes to folks who may be unhoused and even with outreach and engagement and getting a bank account for those individuals would be challenging. So maybe that's a later conversation, but
We do intend to come back later in the year to bring the technology piece. This is really focused on kind of the policy.
Got it.
And we're not acting to ask you to approve a policy change today, just to bring information to prepare you for those upcoming.
Thank you.
Definitely an important consideration.
With that in mind, can I see the age for children? What was the age?
Currently under the existing fare product, a fare policy, it's based on grades K to 12. So we would recommend making this change in the future to set it as a specific age rather than say like height or grade.
So Cabrillo and UCSC fall under the invoice category. Youth Cruise Free covers everything up till secondary school.
I'm talking more about our dual enrolled students who are in K through 12.
Yeah, they get the Youth Cruise Free.
Who gets a youth cruise, but I'm trying to help market that. So I was trying to see if there was an age distinction so that I can know here. Because they don't have bank accounts.
Right.
No, that's always like working with you, important consideration and definitely when we're talking through with staff.
It's like, you have a question.
Oh, Vanessa, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I had a question regarding the fare cap versus with cash not getting the cap. What is the difference between the two of those?
Right. So when you're paying cash, it's a great question. When you're paying cash with each ride, that's precisely it. Every ride and fare payment is separate, and you're not really accruing any value that or any discount that you may save from like buying a pass. Typically, buying a daily pass or a monthly pass is less than if you had to pay for all those rides individually. So that's paying all the rides individually, and if you're traveling a lot, you actually might be spending more. So a fare cap, because of this technology, allows those riders who might not want to or be comfortable with, say, the initial outlay of purchasing like a monthly or daily pass to continue to travel as they may need to. Has the flexibility of traveling whenever they may need to travel. And then once they reach the limit of the cost of that cap, or which would be the equivalent of like a day pass or a monthly pass, it automatically stops charging you. So the system automatically calculates for that rider, oh, you've reached the $7 cap for the day. Any rides you travel after the day, you won't be charged for it.
I see. And that's so it's kind of incentivizing the use of technology.
Right, exactly.
So I do want to bring up a concern about that because there's a lot of people who, for various reasons, who don't want to use smartphones, don't want to use tech, and only want to use cash. I was wondering if there's a way that we can have some kind of just in the spirit of equity, something that people paying with cash can get. Because I just don't think I think it's a little bit of a, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Feels to me a little bit like poverty tax, like incentivizing technology because smartphones are really expensive. And some people, again, for various reasons, either can't afford them or don't want them. So I do want to raise that concern.
Yeah, no, it's a great flag. And I think this fits into the larger fare payment system. So like Derek mentioned, paying with cash at the fare box, just using a simpler fare box will likely continue to be an option. And of course, buying any of these other pass products, say like using the mobile app, or I'm using, say, like smart cards at like ticket vending machines, things like that may, are in consideration. And then some of these partnerships that I mentioned in terms of partnering with retail locations to support cash loading are really, I think, a really valuable play here. So for instance, Cash App has the ability to issue a visible card, no smartphone required. You can sign up online and then go to retail locations and load cash onto that card. So I think this is one example of a potential partnership that we're talking through with the staff today.
And also these.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying.
The systems completely support anonymity. They have anonymous accounts, so you don't have to declare your private information or personally identifiable information.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing I'll just say quickly is right now we're talking about 15% of our boardings are having an interaction with the fare box and paying cash. We're about to launch an onboard survey, and one thing that Callie's team helped us with is to provide survey questions for our riders that get at usage of cash, access to other bank products or bank products, and why people rely on cash windows. So we'll have a lot more data in May. Because we think there's a pathway there, but we want to get more information and not alienate people that aren't relying on cash.
No, it's a great flag because I think, the data just tells us what they're using. We don't know why. And knowing why might direct the agency towards what a better solution would be to meet riders where they're at. Just one more slide that I wanted to get through, sort of just to talk through sort of what the next steps are. So right now, we're in that baseline phase, assessing current ridership and trends. Next, we'll work with staff to specify the fare collection technology needs in line with some of those needs shown in the analysis that I mentioned around like apps, single rides, monthly passes, et cetera. Staff will present the fare policy recommendations to the board prior to implementation later this year. So there will be additional, stay tuned for more information down the road. And then moving forward with that, we'll work with staff in terms of that transition to start integrating and accepting credit and debit cards through this open system. And that would be really interesting to see again how ridership changes, what shifts where. And I think that also then provides Metro with more information about what solutions and additional support might be needed, including, say, digital payment options for those invoice riders, for the fare-free riders, for cash-preferred riders. And with that, I'm happy to answer any more questions.
If I could just add one other thing, I just want to note that we received a large additional grant through the Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority, CCJPA. They run the Capital Corridor Amtrak service between Sacramento or Big Tahoe in this area. And of course, we cover the leg from San Jose. But that was an additional grant to the one that John and Wandemo had acquired. It allows us to really invest in some research with the state to help the CalITP program continue to provide benefits back to other agencies throughout the state and ultimately to the residents of California. We really want to work with you, Ed, and with you, Elta, to see if there's a way to integrate the ID cards for the university students directly with this future system so that all the students would have one form of identity. They would tap to pay. One of our principles with the new system is really everybody taps to pay so that whatever mechanism you use, we're recording the ride and ride type. And so we're kind of really getting much better planning level data. And that would be at all door boarding as well. So we definitely want to see what we can do to leverage this grant and with your HID or whatever cards you're using today, if that technology is compatible or not. And there's some, I don't know if either of you are looking at this, but there's a big movement toward digitalization of IDs in the mobile wallets. You may have your California driver's license now, for example, in your Android or Apple wallet, but a lot of universities are doing that as well. If UCSC or are interested in doing that.
In my notes.
For you to leverage this grant to bring the technical teams to the table and possibly help implement that over the next couple of years.
Okay, John, you're out. You're in.
I don't know.
Team
Ed
here.
and I have worked together on this kind of stuff in the Bay Area in the past.
That leads to my question is where you've implemented this in other transit agency areas. Are there any that are similar in the makeup of their ridership to us?
Monterey Salinas to the south is really our closest peer. If you look at that county, Salinas and Watsonville have a lot of characteristics that are similar. Monterey and Santa Cruz to some degree have a lot of similar characteristics as well. They're really the pioneer of this program. If you look at the state, there are several agencies, but they're the one that's most out in front, promoting how successful it's been for their agency. And they're working with a company called Bank On, which is a nonprofit that works with local banking merchants to create free, no fee, and no penalty accounts for folks who are typically unbanked or underbanked and don't have access to a checking account. They'll actually enable those folks to get a contactless credit or debit card and to be brought into the banking world and do not have any kind of punitive fees and things like that. We want to do something similar. We've been talking with Corey and Danielle to begin outreach to find the local banks in our community that would support this kind of a program. The goal is to leave no rider behind, to have a fully equitable system. We will, of course, be doing Title VI analysis. And there are a lot of programs. We're not out in the forefront on this. We're actually one of the last agencies in the nation to really advance this type of technology. It's been around for 2 decades. And so there are well-worn paths that provide mitigation to all of the concerns that have been brought up today. And then we would proceed carefully to go through and make sure those are implemented.
I was going to ask you about hiccups and challenges along the way, but clearly we won't have any because.
I mean, the biggest challenge is really with the retail cash thing that Callie mentioned. That's a great way to deal with that corner case of folks who don't necessarily want to pay other than with cash, but to try to remove the cash collection is getting the retailers, the local merchants to want to support the program and to actively promote it and make sure they have cards stocked and that they will allow, because you want that in every corner, every neighborhood. You don't want that, people have to travel across town.
Thank you. Any more board comments? Anything from the public?
I think I'm a bus operator, and I share a lot of the same concerns that were already brought up. And I just want to reiterate that a lot of the people who are paying cash are elderly or houseless. And I appreciate that there's a lot of push for this retail partnership. But even then, I feel that there's a good portion of people who are, it's another hurdle. Because it's nice that it's there, but going through that process to go to a retailer, it's not as easy as just having cash. And I did have some other ideas that are somewhat related, as far as, well, first, I guess, just what is the like cost benefit analysis? Because the fare boxes we have now are old, very old, but they work. And as well, I've had many people come on my bus and ask, can I pay with card? And I just point them at the smart Splash Pass QR code and say, you can pay with your phone, just get the app. And pretty much every time they come back with this Splash Pass ready. And so we have technology in place to allow for contactless payment. And I also had an idea somewhat related to, is there a way we could work with the county for people who are receiving SNAP benefits or Medi-Cal to be eligible for discounted fares, to, if we implement the system, to help not have it be so much of like a poverty tax for people who cannot use this system. And yeah, I think that's enough for now. Thank you.
Yeah, those are all great comments and very valid. There are basically pathways to deal with every one of the user groups that you highlighted. For example, for a group like Housing Matters, they could easily produce paper QR codes that are handed out to folks that need a ride, either on a one-time basis or on a regular basis, that could be tapped and scanned. These validators can read paper QR codes, they can read mobile QR codes, they can read contactless, like a credit or debit card. The technology is very capable to do all those things. As an example, the Bay Area has adopted a policy for low-income categories. That used to not be a rider type. It used to be youth, senior, disabled. But now low-income is becoming a category across the United States. So very well, this board could adopt a policy that would allow for discounted fares for income distressed folks. We will come back with a technology presentation in a few months as we go through the procurement process to help illustrate all those examples.
Thank you for the report and your presentation. It was very quickly doing it.
I just wanted to thank Helen and her team again for coming up here. Their support has been free, but it got some, I'm not sure how that works, but any questions? And again, we'll come back and follow with this policy update to the fare products that are offered.
We'll now receive our CEO report before we.
Okay. So on February 6th, I had the opportunity to testify at the Senate Budget and Fiscal Review Committee hearing in Sacramento alongside LA Metro and San Francisco Muni. The hearing focused on the implementation and benefits of SB 125 programs and further discussions on the needs of California transit agencies moving forward. While in Sacramento, I met with state delegates and legislative staff and the Senate and Assembly Budget Committee staff to discuss Metro's state agenda. Additionally, I was in Washington, D.C. this week, meeting with our federal delegates and legislative staff to discuss Metro's federal agenda. We will continue those discussions by hosting staff from Senator Shipp, Senator Padilla, and Representative Lofgren's districts on March 5th and providing a tour of Metro facilities, along with our federal lobbyist CFM, who organized this event.
Or if it wouldn't be getting us in big trouble, if you could give us some of the character of what it was like to meet and go to DC and talk to people.
Like DC?
Yeah.
It is unknown. Like everybody is still unsure. As far as transit funding goes, there's a lot of discussion right now on the Republican side of moving away from discretionary grants back to a formula base like we had back in 2012. I remember those days, and I would have had to save up for 4 years in order to buy 2 buses. So we were advocating for continuation of discretionary grants because we're so capital intensive. We need that one-time infusion of funds that allow us to do purchasing like 5 to 10 buses at least at a time, where we get some cost savings versus buying 1 bus at a time.
Beyond the executive branch, did you get some sense, did you meet with other people in Congress about to what extent the Republicans are still committed to the public transit program?
So we heard from there's a bus caucus in the House. We heard from Representative Congressman Larson and Congressman LaHood, and they have a positive outlook. You know, they think that they can get there with the transportation package, but what it's going to look like is still really unknown. So there's another discussion as well on the table of moving the right now transit is really protected. It's not in the general fund. There's talks of moving it out and moving it into the general fund, which would really be very, very detrimental to us. Yeah. So as far as there's no certainties at this point. We do know that earmark money that is that's available, at least in the House. On the Republican side, they are giving smaller amounts to the Democratic congressman, so they get less. So, so you had in front of you I don't know why it says draft. I'm sorry, it says draft on there, but this is the state and federal legislative agenda, just for your information on there. If you have any questions about any of it, you can send me an email or we can talk about it. It's pretty straightforward on our projects that we're focused on. Some more money. So, the bottom line of it. So Metro is contracted with Moore and Associates to perform an onboard and online rider survey to receive feedback on Metro services. 3 surveys will be conducted. The first will be on UCSE routes from March 11th to March 15th. Surveys for Highway 17 and local routes are tentatively scheduled for March 25th to 29th. Metro will promote the surveys on its website, social media, and onboard buses and transit centers. Now, on the hiring and promotions front, Metro hired 1 new planning data analyst and had 7 promotions. 1 transit supervisor, 2 mechanic 1s, 1 mechanic 3, 1 electronics technician, 1 vehicle service detailer, and 1 grants analyst since our January board meeting. Also, you may have seen some new bus shelters throughout the county. Special thank you to our Metro facilities team for their hard work in finalizing the installation of 30 bus shelters, benches, and Big Belly trash cans that were funded by the Clean California grant under the Bus Stop Improvement Project, which was a collaborative effort between Clean California Program, Caltrans, and Metro. Lastly, Metro has several upcoming events that we will be participating in. Our One Ride at a Time photographer, Jody Frediani's author event for her book, Wild Monterey, will be held at the Seymour Center on March 9th. Metro will display its Orca Well bus there, which Jody contributed to our campaign. On March 11th, we will be participating in the Scotts Valley High's Career Day, held at the Scotts Valley High School Gym. March 18th is Transit Driver Appreciation Day. We'll be celebrating our operators and staff by hosting a special event at JKS, our operations area. Lastly, on March 19th, Metro will be, that's not the last thing. March 19th, Metro will be participating in the San Lorenzo Valley High School College and Career Fair held at the San Lorenzo Valley High School. Lastly, on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, February 25th, Metro's One Ride at a Time program was recognized at the APTA AdWill Awards in Long Beach with 2 awards. first place for best print media and first place for best comprehensive campaign. So congratulations to Danielle for hard work on that. It's a big. That's the end of my report.
Do you have any comments or complaints from the board? Yes.
There's several. The big belly garbage cans just brought up, where did they go?
You know, a lot of them were basically, we ended up replacing some that were already existing. A lot of them are actually on Soquel. There's about 23 of them basically on current routes where we don't really do trash.
Right.
7 or one.
Where?
7.
Where in Watsonville? So, I mean, he's the one in charge.
Freedom in Sydney, Freedom in Atkinson, Freedom in Kmart.
They're not there. Actually, I have a picture of it. If you want to, I just took a picture of that because I put it on my Facebook. You'll see that there are no garbage cans near any of those shelters. And I believe, did Eduardo call you and make a complaint about the lack of garbage cans at all?
No.
Okay, so they're not there. There's garbage overflowing in the shelters. And this is what I'm kind of talking about, is that there's a lack of equity when it comes to, you know, what we're providing to throughout the county.
The city of Watsonville actually, there has trash cans on certain locations on the street. So the city of Watsonville actually are the one that pick up the trash cans. There's some other one that, I don't know if you've seen the ones that flip. And I know on which is like in Lake Mess area, that area, there's gonna be 3 more coming and then we actually are paying for that, so for the pickup. So there's several locations outside the county that we'd actually, Metro does not pick up the garbage can. We actually pay somebody to pick up the garbage can.
Who do you pay?
We usually pay I think it's Green Waste.
Green Waste?
Because they're outside of the city.
So they're doing the county portion of South County?
Yeah.
So, there are no garbage cans near one. I mean, we have to, this has to change. Like, so I'd like to work with you, with your staff and with the city of Watsonville, so we can make sure that we have garbage cans near the shelters. I drive by, I was understanding, I was told that the services stop in Aptos, is that correct? Your garbage service?
It varies on different agreements with different cities. So definitely, yes, we can definitely work with the city of Watsonville and try to figure out, most likely what would end up happening in Watsonville, we would probably end up paying for some of the service to be picked up. Due to the, we're actually, Metro's not equipped to handle basically garbage that we're not into the garbage picking business. So that usually we would have to like work with the city and to figure out how can we coordinate that.
Okay, I would like this to happen. I would like to have this communication between the city of Watsonville and Metro. We would like to have the same service that the rest of the county gets to enjoy when your garbage is being picked up. I don't, whether it's an agreement between, you know, Green Service or whoever it happens to be with, it needs to happen. And I know you're not the one calling that shot. It, at the end of the day, lies with our CEO, but I would like that to happen. I would imagine my South County residents would feel the same, that we would like our garbage picked up like the rest of the county at our shelters. You see right now, our shelters there's like people are leaving garbage all around it because there's no place for them to put it. So, that's how I feel.
We don't have any garbage in our shelters in Scotts Valley.
Well, great. Then if
I mean, it's
you don't
not-
want them, then that's fine. It's
No,
important to me.
I'm just saying it's not just Watsonville. It's not a South County issue. It's an issue that we're all working with. So we have the same issue.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, you can opt out, right? So it sounds like
No,
Scott
we didn't.
wants to opt out.
No,
I-
Public Works is picking up garbage that we provide.
Okay, so that's great. But I would like to be on board, the city of Watsonville would like to be on board with the rest of how Metro is being operated when it comes to the garbage. If we need to have an agreement, then I'd like to work that out somehow. I'll have staff contact you and you guys can work that out. If that means that you have to coordinate on these big belly garbage cans, that, we work it out, that the city, because the city, may be like, okay, we have a certain garbage can, let's let's work on it together and making this happen. Just wanted it to happen. Is that,
We can definitely talk.
okay?
I mean, there's, Santa Cruz also has, there's many locations that we don't service the trash can. And, so basically, a lot of them are actually, City of Watsonville might have removed some of them recently because of the construction. So we might have to like contact the City of Watsonville and to reinstate the trash cans that they've removed. Because they have them strategically staged at certain locations near our shelters. So,
Okay,
like-
we'll have a bigger conversation and we can talk afterwards as well. But I mean, it's just something that like we're having a real, it's an epidemic trash in Watsonville. We have beautiful sloughs that are filled with trash. You just take a drive down Main Street and look over North Sloughs. It's sometimes you'd be confused on where you are.
It's all over the county.
Right.
Santa Cruz has the fair share, Scottsdale only has their fair share. We constantly get tickets of people wanting to, basically we go out there to the shelters and we have to clean them up.
Right.
So there might not be a trash can, but it's all over the county. It's not just in one city.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I know it's a big issue, but we're trying to do our part. And then when there aren't any trash cans next to a shelter where people are standing and then they have their stuff, what are they gonna do with that? They just go, they throw it on the ground. And I have seen trash cans near, because I did drive through Aptos and I was curious, they do have trash cans near, some are connected to the shelters. They have them, they're around, Okay, so the second problem that I have is this was a beautiful calendar. There's not one picture with the bus in Terminal Watsonville, anything. Or South County. It's everywhere throughout the county except for Watsonville. So I don't know.
In front of the ocean?
There are a lot of pictures in here not in front of the ocean, so. I mean, here's one in front of an ocean.
I don't think the locations were selected by trying to cover all parts of the county. I think they were looking for locations that had a great background.
We have great backgrounds, so.
We do have a photo of the slough that we've been trying to accommodate, but we ran out of buses. So that was gonna be in our next run.
We're in the next drive, great, okay. And then I do want to talk about the morale of that I think Olivia brought up earlier. I actually have spoken to a couple people inside of your organization and morale is down. And I mean, to me, when not one retiree comes to get an award, that says something. I mean, if I retired from a company, I'd want to be here to be recognized that I put my, blood and my lifeline in. So I don't know what's going on, but, I did have somebody confide in me recently and I don't know if you're aware of it or not. I'm publicly saying this because I had that conversation with somebody and, whatever has to be done to address it, I think we should do because it's important to have people who want to show up to work every single day. So, that's where I stand on those and yeah. Sorry.
Any other board comments?
Not a comment, just a question. So there is a number that you can call at the bus station or at the shelters that we can call to report any kind of garbage. It's on the website, graffiti on the website is basically a customer complaint.
Yeah, so every flag at our bus stops has a customer service number on there as well as our website. So if you call during business hours, a customer service rep can take in a bus stop maintenance request. Or you can go online and submit that ticket yourself as a writer or as a community member.
Yeah, because we do have a homeless situation in Watsonville, and a lot of the homeless do use those shelters to sleep. And there's always garbage everywhere. It's horrible, and I agree with you. And I think we've been left out. We feel left out. So, because I use the bus stops, I use the one on Main Street, right on Mount Hills. And I use the one over by McDonald's on Vallartas. So that one usually gets pretty
dirty. So, and there's a lot of repeating too. So,
Our bus drivers usually do a great job of reporting it.
yes,
So,
good.
so then they do spot, they report it to security, and security goes out there. They pushes the people away, and then we send our staff to go in there and clean it. So.
And I do feel left out also about community events with Metro. I feel like a lot of the community events are being done on this side of the county and Watsonville's being pushed down. So I want to see more community events that are happening in Watson with Metro and our board members.
They used to come to our 4th of July parade. They don't even do that anymore. So
Say that again.
they used to be in our 4th of July parade and that has stopped. So, I think that there needs to be more visibility as well.
Trevor, did
I just wanted to comment on the bus benches. We've had challenges in the city of Santa Cruz and we've worked with Metro and Public Works and our homelessness response team. It really takes a collaboration between a lot of different departments. So I just wanted to offer that, city of Santa Cruz has experienced this and it doesn't just fall on Metro. I'm not saying that that's what folks are saying, but it has to be a collaborative effort to one, respond humanely to those who are unhoused with whoever your homelessness response team or whatever framework you have in your jurisdiction. And then two, that Public Works is working with Metro. We had challenges with small garbage cans that were overflowing. So this is before your time, Corey, but we worked with the CEO and I think I can't remember, maybe John's team. And our Public Works team when we got bigger garbage cans. Anyway, it is a challenge everywhere and it takes multiple departments and a little time to address it. And not that we figured it out and it's all beautiful now. It's a continuous conversation.
one more tool is the county app, where you can report pretty much anything that irritates you.
You don't want to sit on some of those benches.
So, for example, and I don't know if, Freddie, you had this before, but if you're in the unincorporated part of the county and you see trash or illegal dumping, and you report it using the app and it's logged, there's a map, it shows your issue. It tells you when that they've received it, it tells you the process, it tells you when it's resolved. And there are a lot of different things that I think what they do is if somebody reports something that they don't know which jurisdiction it is, they send it to the correct one, like county public works or the city. So probably the more they see this, the more attention this will get overall. I know it's something that, it's just another way of doing it.
Yeah, that transit, I use transit to use a live. So when you arrive to your Metro stop, it asks you questions like, is it clean? Is there shelter? Is there paved sidewalks? Do you guys get those messages? I don't know if Metro gets those messages from transit. It's an app on the phone. I use it a lot.
Director, we're about to implement a partnership with Transit App where we'll get a lot of that information and also be able to survey riders specifically on things. And one of the things is the condition of your bus stop, the condition of your bus shelter, actual customer ratings, and to be able to submit tickets, like issues that will go directly to maintenance. So I don't know, Danielle, when that's launching, but I think it's.
Yeah, within the next 2 months, we'll upgrade, we'll be able to receive that. It's a paid subscription that we had to upgrade to the county for, so we're going to plan.
Yeah, because they will ask you several questions. So
And then
that's good data too. Yeah.
We're looking at our first shelter, I think on Mount Road. We have none in Scotland. But the first one I think is gonna be on Mountain Road in front of the Target. So we'll have our very first shelter. I don't know. I don't
Ready for
think.
the trash.
Just got brand new shelters along Highway 9 and they're
Did you?
beautiful and the students love them. The other day, it was so weird. Like one day I look and there's a student standing in the rain. I'm like, oh, poor kid. And then like literally like the next day there was a shelter. I was like, did I manifest this? They're really beautiful.
Yeah, we hadn't had them in North County, but it's
Yeah.
starting.
So a little bit on that. So we targeted shelters that basically are deteriorating. So usually when there was a wooden shelter there before and it was in danger of falling. So that's how we selected those shelters to play. Basically it was for a safety issue.
Mhm.
So
We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Can you remind me who's picking up the garbage?
at the shelters.
Is it waste management or is it?
We have, like I said, it's outside the county. It's, if they bring waste to pick them up.
Gotcha.
If it's, there's a couple locations that we actually, pick up our staff does. It's pretty limited on locations.
Do you have agreements with cities about picking up garbage?
This was something that was like grandfather, I would say. It's been done for many years. 20 years since I've been here, it's been done. So basically it was small little trash cans and small areas. So basically we just can continue doing it. We've gone away when we work with the city, we've actually had them install trash cans. So there's a location where the city has taken over of doing the trash in certain shelters. And that's what we would like to go. We'd like to work with the city to integrate trash cans at strategic locations to eventually find a better way of solution. Because like I said, our important for us is make their prisoners. So we do have trash cans inside the buses. So to try to encourage them to throw the garbage inside the buses and then be able to provide better service.
It could also get smelly though inside of buses if they're bringing on their like, whatever.
Yeah, our cities provide, I think we have city garbage cans at ours that they pick up with.
Yeah.
We negotiate with the.
So, I mean, we did install in Watsonville, that in the Watsonville Transit Center, we installed about 7 big bellies. So we also went through 2 cycles. So some of them were franchised to Watsonville, but they were franchised to the Watsonville Transit Center. So.
We'll talk. Lots more big bellies.
I just wanted to thank Monica for your column and Sentinel because it's sort of present in my mind as we're having this discussion. It's about health and the way we view things. And I think when people feel safe and healthy at a bus stop because of lack of trash, I think that encourages more riders. You were mentioning the students, and I know you look at the number of people that ride the bus, the students and the folks in the presentation earlier about fares. That's a lot of people that need to feel safe in our facilities. So thank you for that. And I'd love to see something come back to the board maybe later this year, just sort of an update so that people understand how that's progressing. Anything else? Any public comments on the CEO's? Okay, well, I want to thank everyone that came here in person and tuned in. You got your hand up, Rena.
Yeah, I had sorry to interrupt. I wanted to kind of finalize my thoughts of what I said earlier. I got a little nervous and I didn't take the opportunity to thank my boss, Daniel, Margot, and my former boss, Danielle. In the 8 jobs that I've had here, Cruz is where I've always wanted to be. So I have no plans of moving to anywhere else. My favorite slogan has always been, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. And I live by that every day. I'm super grateful and blessed to take pride in wearing Metro, logo. So sorry to take up additional time. It was gonna bug me if I didn't say it. I promise in my 15-year certificate, I will come prepared.
Thank you. So remember, if you have friends that missed this meeting, they can watch it on YouTube next week. And we'll see everyone on Friday, March 28th at 9 a.m. at the Scotts Valley City Council Chambers. And that's at 1 Civic Center Drive in Scotts Valley. Thank you for attending. We're adjourned.